Hey everybody, welcome to the Dungeon Cast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Will.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons and Dragons, from foreboding forests to feral fighters. And today we're talking about zombies, we're talking about wights, and we're talking about ghouls.
All right, so it's not October now, but when this episode airs, it's going to be October.
No, you see, August is AU, like autumn, which means it's autumn. And autumn means it's Halloween, so we're good.
Okay, well, either way, we're good. So for the month of October, folks, we are doing a Halloween spectacular special with nothing but...
you meant spooktacular.
Spooktacular special with nothing but undead and werewolves and liches and all this scary stuff.
Some of my favorite kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're going to be highlighting the horror aspect of D&D, which is fun stuff.
It's a deep pool, trust me.
Yeah, there's so much, like undead alone cover so much out of the monster manual. It's the exact opposite problem of Fey monsters.
And it's easy. I mean, if you want to, like... Naturally, in the real world, people are scared of like ghosts and things like that, and the fear of the unknown, like zombies. It's a lot. Yeah. There's a lot of that in pop culture.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in mythology, and thus a lot of these monsters are in D&D. It's also appropriate that we're talking about zombies, wights, and ghouls this week because I've been sick all week and I felt like a zombie all week, so I feel like I can get into the mindset. And I've also been watching a lot of Game of Thrones, and anybody who watches Game of Thrones knows there's a lot of undead. A lot of undead these days.
The episode we recorded last week, I was a sick boy. Now Will's a sick boy, and it's all my fault. So sorry, everybody. I've made you listen to bad, poor, sick people twice.
Yeah. We'll get through. So, zombies. Huge part of pop culture. And I would say the zombies in D&D are really not like zombies in today's pop culture anymore, because zombies in today's pop culture have really kind of separated themselves from like the original like Haitian folklore zombies or even African folklore, because that's where kind of zombies come from.
There was like a witch doctor involved.
Yeah.
And they would like possess people, living people, bodies, animate bodies.
A zombie in Haitian folklore, from my understanding, is they basically, there's two kinds of zombies. And one is when they raise the body without a soul and it shambles about and serves the witch doctor. And the other is capturing a soul and containing it in like a vessel, like a jar or something.
Ooh.
And that's a different kind of zombie.
Okay.
Same word for two different things.
Right on.
D&D zombies are much like the first one we mentioned, and in today's pop culture, a lot of zombies, it's like we like to try and scientifically explain them, like it's some sort of viral infection, like 28 days later or something along those lines. But if we look at, I think Night of the Living Dead and all that, I think it was all like voodoo magic, right? I don't know. I haven't seen those movies.
I'm not sure about that.
I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure they are magical.
I'm more familiar with like your Resident Evil 28 Days Later kind of zombie.
Yeah.
Where there's a patient zero and it's a virus or something that spreads.
Zombies in D&D are not like that. Zombies in D&D are corpses that have been risen via usually necromancy.
Yeah.
Necromancy, which is a type of magic. Wizards are going to be the ones that... excuse me. Wizards are going to be the ones that usually are the necromancers, but it can also be a cleric thing. Like a cleric can technically worship a god of undeath, and like they can raise the dead and do all that stuff if they're like an evil cleric.
Is there a canonical D&D god of undeath?
There are a lot of D&D greater powers that kind of like claim power over that. Vecna would be one of the first ones. He's the god of necromancy, and he is the god of secrets, and also a god of magic. He used to be a wizard who became a lich, who became an archlich, and then ascended to godhood.
Fuck.
There's a lot of lore behind Vecna.
It's a lot of steps.
Yeah, a lot of steps. Yeah, Vecna is crazy. But yeah, so a lot of necromancers will worship him. Although they would be wizards. Like Vecna is a wizard through and through, even in god form. He's all about magic.
Yeah, when you become a wizard, like as a role player, you can become a necromantic wizard.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
you can choose. You can choose that school of magic. Absolutely. So, but also like a cleric, I don't know. I guess you could justify like a cleric of Orcus, because Orcus is the demon prince of undeath.
So you wouldn't have turn undead necessarily.
No, although you could and just reflavor it because you have power over the undead. So
I can do whatever the fuck I want to undead.
Again, the player's
handbook. Instead of turn undead, do anything you want to undead.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, so in the Dungeon Master's Guide, there's a cleric domain called the Death Domain, and it is necromantic and 100% evil.
For sure.
So there's that. Okay, so zombies can be raised outside of just necromantic spells, though. They can also, if a corpse is in a place with enough like negative dark energy, it's possible that they could be raised.
Oh, okay.
And the thing is, undeath equals evil in Dungeons and Dragons, according to the vanilla canon lore.
Right.
So like the fact that something is undead, it is inherently evil. Zombies are inherently evil. They are mindless, but they're also evil, and they're absolutely mindless. I think their intelligence is like a 2 or a 3.
Bummer.
They literally like if they don't have like a wizard or cleric commanding them to do something, or there's nothing around them for them to kill, they'll just stand still.
They're the biggest, most dangerous rocks you've ever seen.
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly. That's exactly right. They'll just stand still until they rot away, quite frankly.
I've always been kind of like, how long does it take for a rotting dead corpse to like that's wandering about the earth to rot away? Like, can't you just wait out the zombie apocalypse? It never seems like that's an option.
It should be an option because
for real, like you're a rotting corpse. Yeah. Literally, you're just exposed to oxygen. You're gonna just rot.
Right. Well, okay. So with D&D zombies, a little bit can be justified because it said that like necromantic magic is kind of holding it together.
Yeah.
So although they do rot away eventually, like it would probably supremely slow the process
right,
down.
because you're like imbued with magic, which is fine.
It's also how skeletons end up getting explained because like. A skeleton shouldn't be able to move because it doesn't have ligaments pulling the bones.
Yeah.
But the explanation is it's been infused with necromantic magic that then does that for it.
You can't see my ligaments because they're made of magic.
Yeah, they're made of darkness. So, yeah, there we go. So we're going to talk a little bit about skeletons. They're not like a highlight of this episode, but they're so closely related to zombies. I want to kind of talk about them a little bit more.
I love their stat pool.
I love skeletons. They're one of my favorite like undead mobs. I like zombies too. I like the undead as mobs for low level characters.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
It's my personal favorite to throw at characters because like on one hand, like I like goblins and orcs and all that stuff too, but too often you see those mobs used in a way where they're like a faceless enemy of evil. Yeah. It's like, I don't know, goblins are people, like, and so are orcs, like, and they can totally be like the Horde. They can be like Tolkien's orcs, where they're just evil. Like, but they don't have to be.
The bottom line is they have culture and society. So it's like, well, you're just killing like the foot soldiers.
Yeah, but if you throw some zombies and skeletons at them, like the players know they're dealing with some real fucking evil here, and it's inherently just kind of scary, like. Because like a goblin is small, but like a zombie is the size of a human, and like something is powerful enough to have created it and is now using it against you.
Yeah, so it's like this extension of themselves that is just like outdoing the bidding, which is to like try and stab you.
So I think that's a nice experience for low level players because it's like, oh shit, the undead.
You don't really have to worry about the fear of zombies in D&D. Like, oh, if I got scratched or bitten, took some damage from a zombie, it's not like I'm about to become a zombie and I lost.
Yeah,
because like in zombies and like pop culture,
you
take any damage to zombie, you become zombie.
Yeah, exactly.
And it take time, but like
and that's not a thing in D&D.
You lost the fight.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the green slime, or if you get damaged by green slime and you don't heal it, like you'll turn into a green slime.
No shit. Did we talk about that?
We did talk about that.
Oh fuck, I forgot.
Why do we even do this podcast, Brian?
God, I have to remain ignorant.
You just let it go in one ear, not the other.
It's a lot of content.
It is. It's too much, but we're here to talk about.
Don't worry. When I'm planning on putting oozes in my game, I'm going to re-listen to oozes.
Oh yeah, cool. Sounds good.
Yep,
it was a good episode. I enjoyed it.
I loved it.
So
obviously I didn't pay enough attention, but
I mean, anything can kind of be zombified. It's not too hard to homebrew it. I think the monster manual has 3 zombies. They have your basic humanoid one, like a regular old zombie. Then they have an ogre zombie, which is kind of fun, like oh shit. And then they have a beholder zombie, which is awesome. But also, like, that's a weird choice you got 3 choices, and when you chose one as a beholder, like, that's cool, but holy shit.
So I did retain a lot of information from our beholder episode, and that sounds like it doesn't make any sense. How do you even accomplish that?
I mean, if you kill one and then raise it as a zombie.
Damn, okay.
You have to kill it,
for sure.
Or maybe you find a dead one.
Or maybe it dreams a zombie version of itself into existence.
Could be, although that... I mean, yes, that is. I'm going to say that's absolutely possible because beholders can shape reality with their minds. But I think usually when it comes to the whole undeath thing, you're going to get your death tyrant out of that situation.
That's right. Okay, yeah.
Because a zombie beholder is significantly weaker than a normal beholder. It's, I think, a challenge rating 5.
Oh, that's it.
It has the I-beams, but it can only use one at a time, and it's like a much lower
Instead
HP
of like
pool.
3 in a turn or whatever it is.
Yeah. So the main thing about zombies, the main feature they got going for them is they have what's called Undead Fortitude, which when you drop them to 0 HP, they get to make a Constitution save, and I think it's a low DC. I think it's only a 10, and if they succeed, they don't go down. They only drop to 1 HP. The only way to circumvent that is if you use radiant damage or it's something, or if you crit, I think are the two. If you crit or if it's radiant damage, they don't get to make a save. They just die. So,
okay.
And that's like, I guess that's another way of making radiant damage actually mean something.
Yeah. Because it's a bummer that it doesn't deal double.
Exactly. But at the same time, like, it's only for zombies. Other undead don't have Undead Fortitude necessarily.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about skeletons. So skeletons I find funny because they're the same deal. They're raised via necromantic spells. For some reason, they're smarter, like significantly smarter. Like a zombie has an intelligence of like 2, a skeleton has an intelligence of like 7.
Oh, well, think about it. Rotted brain versus whatever you want to put in there.
I guess that's true. And the main thing about zombies is they can only like a zombie can't think pretty much at all. Like if there's a pit between you and the zombie does not have regard for that pit. It's just going to keep coming at you and then fall into that pit. It can't navigate obstacles. It can't operate machinery. It'll use a weapon if it's in its hand, but if it gets disarmed, it's just not going to bother with the weapon anymore. It's just going to keep clawing at you.
For sure.
A skeleton is not like that. It's going to be able to operate all kinds of different weapons that it could in life. It's going to be able to operate machinery if it's instructed how to do so up to a certain point. Okay. It will go around obstacles. It won't fall for traps necessarily. I mean, they're probably
won't fall for like obvious traps.
Exactly. Yeah. And on top of that, if they're left to their own devices, they are kind of just going to fall into, it's almost sad, they fall into a pantomime of whatever it was they did in life. So if they were like a farmer, they might just like go out into, like, let's say they're like out in these cemetery ruins just kind of wandering about. They might like go through the motions of like reaping the harvest, even though there's
like
no
start
harvest
tilling the land and shit.
Exactly.
Oh, fuck. That's
which is kind of
super
sad
creepy.
And scary,
actually, like wander about and see that. Like, okay, we're gonna detour.
It's like, holy shit. So and speaking of like skeletons tilling the land, I once saw a really cool fucking idea. And this is why I don't like the idea that something has to be absolutely evil or good, because like we talk undeath in this game is like quintessentially evil as fuck.
Okay.
But I saw this concept of a player character who's playing a necromancy wizard, and he was trying to use necromancy for good. And what he was doing was he was trying to build like this necromantic utopia where like all the menial labor was done by the undead. So like he would like raise up undead and then have them work for like this old lady who's too old to do like till her farm anymore. For sure. And so she just, and like it horrified the public. But at the same time, he's only trying to do good, and like so he's trying to spread this like this philosophy of like we don't have to work anymore. Like we could be a society that like just focuses more on art and making the world a better place, and we could just have the dead bodies do everything.
Hey Jimmy, wasn't your dad like a really good farmer? Yeah, man, he was like the best farmer, dude. I miss him. Yeah, where's he buried? Don't tell him.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. So yeah, I just thought that's a really cool idea if you ask me. But I'm parched, man. All this undeath is making me thirsty.
Well, we should probably take a short rest, and you can drink all the water you want when we do that.
Sounds good.
Hell
Let's
yeah.
do it.
Hey everybody, welcome to the part of the episode where we stop talking about that last thing. We're talking about something else. Will, what are we talking about?
We're going to talk about how awesome our fans are.
Hey fans, you're awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. You guys are awesome.
Really cool.
And if you enjoy what we're doing, all we ask is that you spread the word, tell your friends, tweet about it, share it on Facebook. just let people know, because we want our content to reach the ears of other people who are interested in hearing it. So,
do you know somebody that likes D&D? Do you know somebody that doesn't like D&D? Show them our podcast. Maybe they'll be into it. I don't know.
And there's a little something in it for you. We are still running the contest where we're giving away 2 copies of Xanathar's Guide to Everything. We are giving out 2 on the day the book is released. I believe that's November 21st. So you still have time to enter. In order to enter this contest, all you have to do is, actually, there's 2 things you can do. The first one is tweet a link to our show out to your followers with the hashtag DungeonCast. I will see that and I will enter you onto the list.
Yeah, and that can be a link to our SoundCloud feed. It can be a link to YouTube, but it has to be a link to our show.
Yeah.
And make sure you tag it correctly, like Will was saying.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
What's that second thing, Will?
The other way you can enter the contest is if you go onto iTunes and leave us a review. If you do that, I will see that and I will add you to the list.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to see that.
Yeah, and we're giving out 2, so that's 2 chances, guys.
Yeah, and if you just want to do it, just to do it, you'll be entered in the contest. But like, that would be freaking awesome if you guys could do that for us. It'd be really cool. Helps a lot. I know you guys hear if you listen to other podcasts or anything like that, people ask you to do that all the time. It's because it really works. It really helps the show. So if you could do that for us, that would be awesome. And thanks to everyone who already has. Really appreciate you talking about the show and giving us those reviews. But other than that, I think, are we done?
I think we're done.
Let's go back to the show. So, Will, do you still feel like the undead?
Actually, I do. I feel really horrible. I'm not going to lie.
It's very fitting.
Yeah,
I'm sorry you feel bad, though.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, so next we're going to talk about whites. And that's WIGHT, not WHITE.
Yeah, don't racially charge our podcast.
Although they are very pale on average. They're usually depicted as very pale humanoids with shock white hair.
Cool.
Their hands are ended in claws, although they still will resemble whatever race they were before.
Okay.
So whites, I guess, have a lot in common with zombies to a certain extent, but they're really different at the same time. So while zombies are raised by necromantic magic, a white is raised only when someone truly evil and nasty has died and they're filled with enough thirst for either it can be vengeance, or it can just be
the need to do
evil, the need to gain more power, or like just not wanting to die. And they have to willingly reach out to a greater power of evil, usually like an Archlich or a Vecna or Orcus, something to do with undeath.
Okay.
And beseech them. And if the entity thinks that it'll do them good, they'll raise them up as what is called a white.
Okay.
White will retain their intelligence and their personality. By default, they have to be evil, so they're going to be evil.
Okay.
So it's not like there's a chance that they might be okay, but because if they were ever okay, they would never have been a white.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Like it's kind of like if you are a white and you're suddenly like, oh, I want to like help people cross the street and shit. Like, nah, man, that doesn't sound good. Somebody fucked up.
They are driven to obey their creator, though.
Oh,
so
okay.
They will be used by whoever created them. But when not doing that, they do have their own agency.
So if they're filled with like this regret or vengeance of some kind, they're going to be able to like seek out and do what they're going to like.
Probably.
Basically, like if they wanted to like murder somebody like at the time of their death, they're going to be able to still go accomplish that.
Yeah. I mean, I almost view it like a warlock deal where it's like, all right, cool. So I'm going to give you this white ability. You're going to go do your thing. And after that, you belong to me.
Right. And they're probably just like, hell yeah, sounds good.
Let's do it.
That's like the
high five.
That's like the vengeance ooze.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like the Vengeance Ooze. It's very similar, except for the Vengeance Ooze is a way shittier way to go about the whole situation.
Hell yeah. It sounds low key like super dumb.
Yeah, it's the shittiest, stupidest thing you could do. But it's a cool monster. I like it a lot.
Like if it's all you got, it's what you got. You work with what you got.
Yeah. So, the whites, they're very hateful and they're very vengeful, but the main shtick about them is that they have this thirst for the spark of life, if you will.
Okay.
And they can drain this spark from their enemies.
Ooh.
And it's like they have this like life drain touch, which literally, I think there's a save DC, but if you fail it, your maximum HP gets drained and lowered.
No.
And I think there's ways to dispel it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, it'll literally reduce your max HP.
So it's like some kind of semi-permanent, like
semi-permanent. Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, it's fucked up. And on top of it, if they kill you with their life drain, they can now raise you as a zombie, and that zombie obeys them.
Fuck. So you got
that's a fucked up way for a player to go. Like,
yeah, dude.
Because he could do it immediately. Raise you as a zombie. You're I think, done.
That would be a bummer to have that happen in your party. Yeah. Like, well, we got to kill Dale again.
Oh, and that's the thing about zombies is if a corpse is raised as a zombie, I don't think they can be resurrected except for like a really high level resurrection spell. Which, depending on the game you play, those don't exist. Like in my world, like I don't allow resurrection spells.
Oh yeah, man,
absolutely
like,
not.
I want you to experience death and like feel that. Like,
exactly.
It's hard to like. It's hard because like replacing like when you start just reviving people all willy nilly back to full health. It's like, what are we even doing here?
Yeah, exactly. Like where's the threat? It's kind of like I was going to talk about Game of Thrones, but I don't want to do spoilers, so never mind. But the point is like you do want that threat of danger, you know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
like dying should be legitimate.
It should be real,
like, dude. You died.
It should be heartbreaking,
right?
For the other players. Like, no, Ed.
Yeah, dude. Like roll a new character and say bye bye. Like throw that character sheet away or put it in the file or whatever.
Or if you're gonna do some sort of resurrection, make it extremely difficult. Like, make the players go to hell to get that soul back and drag it back, you know what I mean? And they have to go through hell and high water to do it. And like when the person comes back, they're probably not the same anymore. They're probably all fucked up or who knows? Like,
God.
Yeah, like it shouldn't be easy, but that's just my opinion. Whatever. Okay. Maybe you want a world where it's not like that.
Isn't the D&D vanilla mechanic like aren't you able at high levels to just like there's a resurrection spell? Can't you just do that?
Yeah, you can just do it.
And you need like a body.
Yeah, you do need a body.
Right.
I think
like
you need a full body. You might just need like a piece of them.
Well, I think in Crit Roll, somebody got disintegrated recently.
Oh yeah, so are they dead permanently?
Probably this is one of my gripes with Crit Roll.
Yeah,
I don't think they are. So. I don't like. I hear it about a lot of it from a friend. I've been listening to more of the recent episodes, and I don't want to do spoilers. So hopefully, I didn't fuck up anybody's day right now. But like, if you get disintegrated and like still get brought back to life, like I don't get it.
I just
don't get it.
That's lame. Okay.
So sorry guys if that's something you're doing in your games. It's cool if you want to. It's not me.
Yeah, me neither. So back to whites. So another thing about whites is unlike zombies or skeletons, they have sunlight sensitivity. They can't really come out during the day or they suffer the consequences.
I like that.
Because I guess they're just so evil. Like they just can't handle the light. Yeah. So
UV.
Yeah, pretty much. Other than that, like they tend to serve as like lieutenants in like Death Knight armies, they or Necromancer armies or Orcus's armies.
I was actually going to ask you about that. What are we talking about with numbers in like a vanilla setting with like how many zombies, how many whites? Like what's the ratio here?
It really just depends on what you got going on in your world. Like an Archlich might have like, I don't know, an entire like small army of undead.
Holy shit.
Like, you know, might have like a cool like 50 whites commanding like a cool 500 to 600 zombies and skeletons. You know what I mean? Like that all just depends on what you got going on. If you look at like Game of Thrones, there's something like 100,000 undead that just fucking, well, no spoilers, but there's 100,000 fucking undead rolling about. Like it's crazy.
Those are large numbers.
Let's talk a little bit about the undead in Game of Thrones. So in Game of Thrones, I know you don't watch it, but the undead are a big thing, especially in these later seasons. And in Game of Thrones, there's kind of two kinds of undead. You have what are called the whites and what are called the White Walkers.
Okay.
Now, whites in this in Game of Thrones they're zombies. They're not like whites from D&D.
Okay.
They shamble. They basically
feed on the flesh of the living.
They don't really feed on the flesh of the living.
They crave it.
They don't crave it either. Okay. No, they just do as the White Walkers command.
Oh shit!
And they're otherwise completely 100% mindless, just like a D&D zombie. And they're raised through some sort of necromantic magic, just like a D&D zombie.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, and D&D zombies don't or whites, they don't crave flesh of any kind.
Okay.
While the White Walkers are very pale, semi-dead looking things, shock white hair and glowing blue eyes. And that's another thing is whites in D&D have glowing eyes usually. And they raise zombies with necromantic magic. I would say that the White Walkers are the equivalent of a D&D white, and the whites are equivalent of a D&D zombie.
Okay.
So if you're rolling a Game of Thrones homebrew campaign, which is dope as fuck, because that sounds like a lot of fun, that's how I would do it. I would have the whites be zombies or skeletons, and I would have the White Walkers actually be whites, and the Night King would probably be like a Death Knight or something like that.
For sure. Okay.
But anyways, any questions about whites?
I feel pretty good about whites.
Okay, moving on to ghouls. So you were mentioning devouring human flesh. Well, say hello to the ghoul. I did mention
that. Yeah, hello, ghoul.
Say hello to the ghoul. So ghouls are undead humanoids that specifically are about devouring human flesh.
Okay, there we go.
It's what they do. They're usually
like, fuck, we forgot to make the zombie crave flesh. Retcon it. Here's a ghoul.
Well, here's one that does. So ghouls, they're pale. They're usually emaciated. They're like really gaunt and like you can see their bones, and they have razor sharp teeth and long dangling tongues, and they're filled with insatiable hunger for flesh, whether it be dead or alive, although they prefer alive. They are usually inherently tied to Orcus. Like Orcus specifically is the one who makes ghouls. Usually, they don't have to be though. Like it can also just be like cannibals can be kind of cursed with this form after they die.
Orcus is a god?
Orcus is the demon lord of undeath.
The demon lord of undeath. Okay.
So Orcus's deal is like he hates the living so fucking much. He will not suffer them to exist on the same plane as him.
Okay.
Like all his demon servants are undead. He does not suffer the living to live. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a thing he does.
Cool.
So yeah, ghouls are a major thing that he creates. But they don't have to be. Again, I've seen lore where it's just like cannibal cultists end up becoming ghouls when they die because they're cursed by their consumption of human flesh.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Kind of like almost like the Wendigo legend, and I don't know what Native American tribe has that legend, but it's a Native American legend. I know that.
Shout out to Josh Freeland.
Shout out to Josh Freeland, who's a big fan of that legend. So ghouls, although being undead, they don't rot. So they don't have to worry about that. Like I guess a white is gonna have some upkeeping to do.
Okay.
I imagine that a white would
apply some Vaseline.
Yeah, some Vaseline. I think there's like spells. I think there's a spell. There's a cleric cantrip. I can't remember what it's called, but it basically preserves the body for like 24 hours.
Oh,
I would imagine a white would get that cast on them like every day. Because why wouldn't you? Like that'd be the first thing I'd do if I was a white. Like, okay, how do I make my evil existence last forever?
It's the Tesla station of zombies.
There you go. So yeah, ghouls don't got to worry about that. They continue to live. They tend to dwell in crypts and cemeteries, basically where they can get food.
Okay.
Without being like, if they invade a crypt that no one goes into, they could probably live in there for a long time.
Yeah, then they're not probably going to be detected until somebody needs to go get put in there.
Exactly. And then they get living people, and then they probably have to either leave or face the consequences.
Right.
Ghouls are stupid though; they're not very intelligent. I think they got like a 7, so they probably can't speak, or if they can, it's probably real basic. And but they can probably understand language.
Grunt and agreement.
Their shtick is that they have a paralytic touch.
Okay,
so they can claw you, paralyze you, begin to eat you.
Oh fuck! Yeah, like just right there, like that.
They're super evil.
What are we talking about combat wise here? Like, is that like a 1 turn deal?
I think they have an attack where if they attack you with the claw, you make a DC save. If you fail, you're paralyzed, and then they just have a bite attack, which would be them eating you.
Okay, so if you're paralyzed, what are we talking? Status is something I'm aware of in D&D, but it's not something I regularly have to put up with or implement.
So I think I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure paralyzed, like you can't move. Yeah. Probably can't act, or if you can't act, it's probably 1 action.
And it's just like you try to save off of it every turn.
Yeah,
or something?
You just save off of it every turn.
Okay, so that's pretty much how status effects work in D&D. Is you try to save off of it every single turn.
Yeah, for the most part,
until it goes away.
Until it goes away. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say outside of combat. See, I don't know. Status effects are confusing because you'll be paralyzed for a minute, but at the same time, if you're in combat, you get to save usually. But like, if you're paralyzed for a minute, shouldn't you just be paralyzed for a minute?
Yeah,
I mean, if that's the case, status effects are super deadly. So
it's hard because you're in like this like when you're outside of combat, things are different because when you're inside of combat, you have a mechanical like set of rules you have to obey, which is like a 6-second turn.
I think
where everyone's acting simultaneously and also not simultaneously.
Right. So D&D is a wonderful game, and I love it so much. And I think one of the biggest complaints about tabletop gamers that don't like Dungeons and Dragons specifically is the combat system kind of breaks you out of the role play in a lot of ways, even though it doesn't have to. It definitely it's very much like a video game where it's like the screen like warps and suddenly you get sucked into like a turn-based situation, right?
Yes, where all of a sudden you're playing Final Fantasy.
Suddenly you're playing Final Fantasy, yeah, absolutely. And I think it can be off-putting because there are systems out there that kind of don't have that effect. I would argue that a lot of those systems don't do combat as well. But like the thing about role-playing games is there's always going to be a role-playing game that does one specific thing better than others. Like some are better at like political intrigue, some are better at mystery, some are, you know, like D&D is a good catch-all and it can clunkily do most things. How much that bugs you is really that's up to you. I like D&D well enough that I could literally take D&D into space. I could run a space opera in D&D. I could run a murder mystery in D&D. There's nothing that I feel I couldn't do in 5e. But that's just me.
I agree with you on that. I mean, when it's necessary, like maybe in terms of like what I'm trying to do with the situation, like if I want you to be paralyzed, I might do like a more theatrical based combat where we don't roll initiative.
And that's the thing too, is I think a lot of like your experience with any role playing game comes to like a trust and acceptance factor between players and the dungeon master. If you as a dungeon master tell me I'm paralyzed for a minute, I'm not going to argue it because I trust that you're not being unfair to me, that this is going to make the game better.
Right.
And if you have that trust relationship with your friends at the table, like it's just going to make it all better. And like, you don't have to worry about being gypped of something or being like, oh, that's not fair. Or like the DM's choosing someone as favorites or like you're being too railroady or anything like that.
Maybe you're in combat, like going back to ghouls a little bit because we went off subject a lot, but I felt it called for it anyway. Like if you're in combat, maybe you're just like hyped up with adrenaline. There it is.
There you go.
And you have the ability to save off this paralysis. Yeah. But if maybe in a certain situation, this ghoul comes up to you, sneaks up on you, gives you the scratch, you're paralyzed. You don't have those endorphins running through your bloodstream to help you save off. You are paralyzed for 1 minute. Your buddies better jump in.
I like it. Yeah, there you go.
So there's ways around it.
True. Funny thing about the paralytic touch is elves are immune.
Fucking elves.
There's lore.
Of course they are.
Okay, so the lore behind it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but here it is. So basically there is a original ghoul who was a elf cultist that betrayed his people and became a ghoul, and just a powerful ghoul. In fact, like he so much so that I think Orcus left him in charge of like this demi-plane in the abyss, like but it ended up getting invaded by another demon lord. And
sounds accurate.
This ghoul couldn't fight him off even with his army. He cried out for Orcus. Orcus didn't come to help him because Orcus don't give a fuck.
Sounds like your problem, bro.
In a last-ditch effort, he called out to Corellon, who's like the major deity of the elves. Corellon took pity on him, rescued him, which honestly, I don't think this dude deserved to be rescued. And then for some reason, from that day forward, elves were immune to ghouls' paralytic touch. There it is.
He's like, well, I mean, I'm going to do this thing. I got to do it to everybody.
Yeah.
So why not?
Can't choose favorites. There it is. Anyways, whatever.
For sure.
So, there's a more powerful type of ghoul called a ghast.
Oh, I like ghasts. I've used those.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm always in reskin. But.
So the flavor behind a ghast is that Orcus injects them with a little extra demonic juju, and they just get that little bit more powerful. They're more intelligent. They retain their personality and can speak, and like they're cunning. And most importantly, is they can control other ghouls and get them to do their bidding.
Oh, cool. It's a common theme in today's episode.
Yeah, so like, there it is.
Well, you look particular. I like the cut of your jib. I'm gonna give you this good shit.
Here's my secret stash of demonic juju. So also another thing about gas is they have this powerful smell that just poisons people that are too close to them. I think if you're like within 5 feet of gas,
smell.
It's a stench. It just says ghoulish stench. I think it's the name of it.
Oh, for sure,
something along those lines. But I think you have to make a DC save if you end your turn within 5 feet of them. You have to make a DC save or be poisoned.
I think now I'm remembering I cut that out because it's
it didn't make sense.
It was like a little too much for my reskin.
Yeah, I could see that. So yeah, those are. I mean, that's basically it when it comes to that. I mean, Orcus will get his own episode, so we'll be able to get into like his whole thing.
Orcus
later.
Sounds like a fucker though.
Yeah, Orcus is the main rival of Demogorgon.
Oh shit!
They're the two most powerful demon lords.
Shout out to Demogorgon.
Oh god. So any questions about ghast, ghouls, any of these undead, any other undead that maybe I didn't mention that you thought I would have?
No, not particularly. We covered going back to like skeletons a little bit and zombies. I like reskinning those as like shitty sword fighters.
Oh yeah,
like
that's
actual
that's a great
people.
way to do it. And here's another thing too is like a lot of these are close enough and they're similar enough to the point where it's like, well, I don't want them to fight ghouls, but they're too powerful for zombies. Well, just reflavor the ghouls or zombies now.
Yeah,
done or whites or whatever. Like it's not that hard. You got this. I believe in you.
I believe in you.
Okay, I think we may be done unless you have any more questions about these undead, nasty creatures.
They're nasty, but let's call it a game.
All right, let's call it a game. We will see you guys next time.
Bye.
The Dungeon Cast.